everyone, my name is Ashley Bigacusan and I'm going to report about the Mexican crisis in 1994 to 1995 and the history of international exchange rate system. In 1992, a symmetrical band was adopted allowing for gradual depreciation but placing a ceiling on the peso in relation to the dollar. Noong 1990 to 1993 naman, nagkaroon ng exceeded inflation and depreciation. In 1994, dito naman nagkaroon ng decrease ng $1.5 billion ng reserve. International business, it operates in an uncertain environment in which exchange rate have the increasingly volatile over the past quarterly century. Just a recap, ang international business ay nagre-refer siya sa trade of goods, services, technology, capital, and knowledge across national borders and at a global or transnational. International monetary system, it refers primarily to the set of policies, institutions, practices, regulation, and mechanism that determine foreign exchange rate. Foreign exchange is the trading of one currency for another. A fixed or pegged rate is a rate of the government or central bank sets and maintain as the official exchange rate. Par value naman, yung rate na is fixed is often referred to its par value or yung face value. Floating exchange rate naman is about determined by the private market through the supply and demand. Real exchange rate naman is yung after deducting an inflation factor. Then yung nominal is yung before mag-deduct ng inflation. Devaluation refers to a drop in the foreign exchange. Ibig sabihin downward siya. Ang revaluation naman is opposite siya ng devaluation, which means na nag-upward yung change ng currency value. Depreciation naman is reduction or decrease siya ng value of asset. Appreciation naman is gain siya in exchange of value of floating currency or nag-increase yung any type of asset mo. Soft or weak currency, it's either depreciated or devaluated. Hard or strong naman is expected to revalue or appreciate. In 1876 to 1914, dito nag-start yung gold standard na kung saan ang ginagamit nila ang gold para sa pagpapalitan or pag-store ng value. In the interwar years and World War II or 1914 to 1944, during this war and early 1920s, yung currencies were allowed to fluctuate over fairly wide range in terms of both gold and other currencies. This created arbitrage opportunities for international speculators. The Bretton Woods system in 1973 to 1994, itong year na to is nagkaroon ng fixed exchange system under the provision of the Bretton Woods Agreement signed in 1944. The government of each member country pledged to maintain a fixed or pegged exchange rate for its currency vis-a-vis the dollar or the gold. Last but not the least is about the post-Bretton Woods system. This period is characterized by a floating exchange rate system. Since the March 1973 exchange rates have become much more volatile and less predictable than they were during the fixed exchange rate period.
Hi everyone, I'm Feven Gabriel and I'm going to discuss the world currency events that were happened between the year 1973 to 2002. In February 1973, the US dollar devalued. Devaluation pressure increases in US dollars, forcing devaluation to $42.22 per ounce of gold. In March 1973, the currency markets was in crisis. Fixed exchange rates no longer considered defensible. Speculative pressures forced closure of international foreign exchange markets for nearly 2 weeks. Markets reopened with floating rates for major industrial currencies. In June 1973, there was a US dollar depreciation. Floating rates continue to drive the new free-floating US dollars down by about 10% by June. And in the fall of 1973 to 1974 is the OPEC oil embargo. The OPEC imposes oil embargo, eventually quadrupling world price of oil. Because oil prices are stated in US dollars, the US dollars recovers some of its former strength. In January 1976 happens the Jamaica Agreement. IMF meeting in Jamaica results in the legalization of the floating exchange rate system already in effect. Gold is demonetized as a reserve asset. IMF quotas are increased. In 1977 to 1978, the US inflation rate rises. It causes continued depreciation of the US dollars. In March 1979 happens the EMS creation. The European Monetary System or EMS is created, establishing a cooperation exchange rate system for participating members of the AEC. In summer of 1979, the OPEC raises prices. OPEC nations raise oil prices once again. In the fall of 1979, the Iranian assets frozen. President Carter responds to Iranian hostage crisis by freezing all the Iranian assets held in U.S. financial institutions. In the spring of 1980, the US dollar begins to rise. Worldwide inflation and early signs of recession coupled with real interest differential advantages for dollar-denominated assets contribute to rising demand for dollars. In August 1982 is the Latin American debt crisis. Mexico informed the U.S. Treasury that it will be unable to make debt service payments. Brazil and Argentina follow suit. The debt crisis begins. In February 1985 is when the US dollar peaks. The US dollar peaks against most major industrial currencies, hitting record highs against the Deutsche Mark and other European currencies. In September 1985 is when the Plaza Agreement happens. Group of 5 members meeting at the Plaza Hotel in New York sign an international cooperative agreement to control the volatility of world currency markets and establish currency target zones. February 1987 is when the Louvre Accords happen. Group of 7 members state that they will intensify economic policy coordination to promote growth and reduce external imbalances. September 1992 is when the EMS crisis happened. High German interest rates induced massive capital flows into German and the Deutsche Mark denominated assets, eventually causing the withdrawal of Italian, Lira and British pound from the EMS exchange rate mechanism. July 31, 1993 is when the EMS realignment happened. EMS adjusts allowable deviation band to positive negative 15% for all members' currency except the Dutch guilder. The US dollar continues to weaken against the other major currencies. Japanese yen reaches to 100.25 yen per dollar in August 1993. 1994 is when the EMI is founded. The European Monetary Institute or EMI is the predecessor to the European Central Bank. Is founded in Frankfurt, Germany. December 1994 is when the peso collapses. Mexican peso suffers major devaluation as a result of increasing pressure on the managed devaluation policy. August 1995 is when the yen peaks. The Japanese yen reaches an all-time high versus the US dollar of 79 yen per dollar. Yen slowly depreciates over the following 2-year period, rising to over 1.30 per dollar. June 1997 is when the Asian financial crisis happened. First afflicting Thailand in June 1997, then quickly spreading to South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and other Southeast and East Asian countries. August 1998 is when the financial turmoil in Russia and Latin America. Influenced by the Asian countries, Russia devaluates the ruble and unilaterally restructures its debts. The situation worsened following the devaluation in Brazil in January 1999. January 1, 1999 is when the euro launched. Official launch date for the single European currency, the euro. Participating states' exchange rates will be irrevocably locked. The European Monetary Institute will be succeeded by the European Central Bank, establishing a single monetary policy for Europe. January 1, 2002 is when the euro coinage happened. Euro coins and notes are introduced in parallel with home currency's transition period to last no more than 6 months. Contemporary exchange rate system. Under a fixed rate system, governments through the central banks buy or sell their currencies in the foreign exchange market whenever exchange rates deviate from their stated fair value. A purely fixed rate system is employed currently by only a few centrally planned economies such as Cuba and North Korea. In these economies, it is generally mandatory that a local firm's foreign exchange earnings should be surrounded by the central bank, which in return pays the firm's corresponding amount in local currency. The central bank often allocates this foreign exchange income to state-owned assets on the basis of government priorities. Despite the drawbacks such as resource misallocation, distortion of foreign exchange demand and supply, and a drug company performance, the fixed rate system may help economies stabilize their economic environment, emphasize priority projects that need foreign exchange, and control foreign exchange reserves. In a broader international context, fixed rates provide stability in international prices for the conduct of trade, which in return it lessens risk for international counterparties.
Hello po, I am Riza Bamba from FMTV. So I will be discussing the continuation of Miss Gabrielle report, which is the contemporary exchange rate system. So my report includes crawling peg system, target zone arrangement, managed float system, and independent managed float system. So let's start.
So, contemporary exchange rate system. Yung pangalawang part nito is the crawling peg system. So, ito yung monetary authorities that allow the national currency exchange rate to fluctuate in a specific range or band. So, yung central bank, tinatry niyang i-keep ang exchange rate from moving out of the band. Some countries na inadapt ang system na ito is yung China, Vietnam, Nicaragua, and Botswana. So, pinili nila ang system na ito to promote the stability of the balance of payments, and minsan, they adjust the exchange rate periodically to increase the country's competitive position in the market. So, paano nga ba nag-work ang crawling peg? Nag-work ito para kontrolin ang currency movement, lalo na kapag ang banta ng devaluation arises dahil sa inflation or economic instability. The crawling peg consists of two, namely the par value of the pegged currency and targeted devaluation. So, yung par value is revised regularly according sa formula determined by the authorities. Once the par value is set, the central bank intervenes whenever the market value approaches a limit point. There are two types of crawling peg. It can be active or passive. It is active when the central bank pre-announces the target band, while passive when it is coincident. So, sa active crawling peg, parang advance yung pag-aanunsya nila. They announce a range of exchange rate sa mga darating na linggo. So, the central bank commits to maintaining the exchange rate in this range through changes in small steps. The ultimate is to manipulate inflation expectation. Sa passive crawling peg naman, ang exchange rate is often adjusted in line with the inflation rate. So yung aim nito is to prevent a decline in foreign currency reserves. Next po is, can the Hong Kong dollar retain the fixed peg to the US dollar? So dito naman, many analysts question whether or not Hong Kong can return the fixed peg to the US dollar. May mga several factors are in Hong Kong's favor. First, in addition to Hong Kong's foreign exchange reserves of some US $75 billion, the Chinese is also prepared to use its US $140 billion of reserves to defend the Hong Kong dollar. Second, the overall economy of Hong Kong remains strong as reflected in recurring fiscal and balance of payments surpluses, an extremely long foreign debt service ratio 1.3%, and an effectively regulated and supervised banking system. The risk is that coming off the peg now would lead to more frequent and intense speculation in the future in both the foreign exchange and equity markets. A very small economy like Hong Kong, which serves as a regional financial and trading center, needs stability and certainty, which the peg provides. Next is the target zone arrangement. Target zone arrangement is virtually a joint float system cooperatively arranged by a group of nations sharing some common interests and goals. Ang target zone arrangement ay isang napagkasundoang exchange rate system na kung saan ang ilang mga band ay nangangako na panatilihin ang kanilang currency exchange rate sa loob ng isang particular na fluctuation margin or band. This margin can be set vis-a-vis another currency, a cooperative arrangement such as ERMMI or a basket of currencies. The spread of this margin can, however, vary, giving way to two different versions, the strong version and weak version. So sa strong version, or also known as conventional fixed peg arrangements, so dito the exchange rate fluctuates within margins of positive or negative 1% or less, and is revised quite infrequently. So the monetary authority can maintain the exchange rate within margins through direct inventions. For instance, purchasing and selling domestic and foreign currency in the market, or through indirect inventions. For instance, influencing on interest rates. So the flexibility of monetary policy is larger than for exchange arrangements with no separate legal tender. So weak version naman, or the pegged exchange rates within horizontal bands. So in this case, the exchange rate fluctuates more than kung sa strong version is positive or negative 1% less, dito is positive negative 1% around the fixed central rate. So here, there is a limited degree of monetary policy discretion. Next is the managed float system. So dito naman sa managed float system, or the dirty float, is the current international financial environment in which exchange rates fluctuate from day to day. But central banks attempt to influence their country's exchange rates by buying and selling currencies. So in an increasingly integrated world economy, the currency rates impact any given country's economy through the trade balance. So in this aspect, halos lahat ng currencies are managed since central banks or governments intervene to influence the value of their currencies. So according sa International Monetary Fund, as of 2014 daw, 82 countries and regions ay ginagamit itong managed float, or 43% sa buong bansa, constituting a plurality amongst exchange rate regime types. So last po is the independent float system. Independent float system is the portion of the total float within which an activity can be delayed for start without affecting the float of the preceding activities. So dito, approximately 55 countries currently allow full flexibility through an independent float. So independent float system, also known as a clean float. So under this system, an exchange rate is allowed to adjust freely to the supply and demand of this currency for another. Consequently, there is usually no need for an economy to undergo the painful adjustment process set in motion by a decrease or increase in the money supply. So that include my report. Again po, I am Riza Bamba from FM3B.
Hi, I'm Shania Rosel Gitaruk, and I'm going to report is about the determination of foreign exchange rate, purchasing power parity, interest rate parity, implication for MNE's foreign exchange forecasting, and the balance of payment. Under the gold standard regime year 1876 to 1914, the base level of a currency's exchange rate was determined by the stated value of gold per unit of the currency. Example nito ay 1 Deutsche Mark na nagkakahalaga ng 0.02 ounce of gold while 1 US dollar is worth 0.048 ounce of gold. The gold equivalent then becomes the underlying criterion used in determining the base rate of the Deutsche Mark against other currency such as the US dollar. Under other foreign exchange regimes, however, there is no direct way to value one currency against other in terms of both stocks and flows. The present international monetary system is characterized by a mix of free-floating, managed floating, peg or target zone, and fixed exchange rates. Free-floating refers to as clean or pure float. It is flexible exchange rate system solely determined by market forces of demand and supply of foreign and domestic currency. A managed floating exchange rate, also known as dirty float. Kung ang free-floating ay clean float, kabaliktaran naman sa managed floating. Managed floating are systems that allow adjustment in exchange rate according to a set of rules and regulations that officially declared in the foreign exchange market. Peg or target zone is a currency system that fixes an exchange rate around a certain value but still allows fluctuation. And lastly is fixed exchange rate. It's a regime applied by a government or central bank that ties the country's official currency's exchange rate to another country's currency or the price of gold. Purchasing power parity approach emphasizes the role of prices of goods and services in determining exchange rates, also suggests that the exchange rate between two currencies should, in the long run, this principle has absolute and relative perspective toward purchasing power parity. Absolute purchasing power parity states that the exchange rate is determined by the relative prices of similar baskets of goods and services. In short, ang absolute purchasing power parity ay kung ano ang price ng isang bundle of goods and services, ganon din sa iba. Next is relative purchasing power parity. Focuses on the relationship between the changes prices of two countries and the change in the exchange rate over the same period. Ang relative purchasing power parity naman ay nakafocus sa pagbabago ng presyo ng dalawang country at sa pagbabago ng exchange rate in the same period. Interest rate parity principle provides an understanding of the way in which interest rates are linked between different countries through capital flows. Ang principle ng interest rate parity is to suggest the difference in national interest rates for securities of similar risk and maturity ay dapat equal o magkaparehas but opposite in sign of the forward rate discount or premium for the foreign currency. Forward rate is the rate at which a bank is willing to exchange one currencies for another at some specified future date. Yung forward rate, willing yung bank na magpalit ng isang currency ng ibang bansa in case na may paggamitan sila nito in the future. International Fisher effect addresses the relationship between the percentage change in the spot exchange rate over time and the differential between comparable interest rates in different national capital markets. International Fisher effect also states that the spot exchange rate should change in an equal amount pero sa ka-opposite na direction na pagkakaiba ng interest rate sa pagitan ng dalawang countries. Because future exchange rates are uncertain, participants in international financial markets can never know for sure what the exchange rate will be 1 month or 1 year ahead. As a result, forecasts must be made. To predict or forecast foreign exchange rates, international managers analyze both economic and non-economic fundamentals while making references to forward or black market exchange rates. Economic fundamentals, ito yung nakaka-influence sa long-term exchange rate tulad ng balance of payments, foreign exchange reserves, relative inflation rate, relative interest rate, and long-run properties of purchasing power parity. Non-economic fundamentals that may affect exchange rate include political or social event. Ito yung mga pangyayari o pagbabago sa political and social. Bilateral relation between the two countries. Bilateral relations consist ng political, economic, and cultural relation sa pagitan ng dalawang independent countries. Next is market speculation against the currency. Ito naman yung ina-anticipate nila yung paggalaw ng future price sa market. The confidence of market participants. Ito yung confidence sila na may good and stock is may tendency na tumaas ang presyo in the future. And also when people feel confident because it can stabilize their income na pwedeng maka-influence sa kanilang spending and saving activities. And last is natural disasters. Ito yung pagkakaroon ng isang pangyayari na hindi inaasahan tulad ng volcanic eruption. Balance of payment is an accounting statement that summarizes all the economic transaction between residents, individual, companies, and other organizations. Balance of payment, dito lahat nakasulat at nakalista lahat ng transaction na ginagawa nila. Also, balance of payment uses the system of double entry bookkeeping, which means that every debit or credit is also represented as credit or debit somewhere else. Sa balance of payment sheet, lahat ng currency inflow are recorded as credit plus sign, whereas outflows are recorded as debit minus sign. And last is current account. Current account records flows of goods, services, and unilateral transfer, gifts. Sa current account, nakarecord lahat ng goods and services na pumapasok sa kanila. That's conclude my report. Thank you.